G'day world, I'm Corum E. Today we're going to see how loud is an electric plane. I'm in the Pipistrel Electro, an amazing trainer and recreational two-seat sports aircraft, and we're going to see just how loud it is in the cabin today. You'll notice this little extra little dangly bit on my microphone boom here. This is a mic which is just going to record the in-cabin noise, and that's what we're recording on right now. So we're not recording the headset audio. We're just going to record the ambient in-cabin audio from the listener's perspective, the pilot or in the seating position. So that's why I've got the mic up here instead of the mic on the dash or somewhere else. So let's see what it sounds like. First of all, see what it's like in the taxi. We've already got our taxi clearance, so power up the prop and taxi along. We're moving. Just got to check our brakes. Excellent. So this is our normal taxi configuration. We've got about 2 kilowatts of power applied and we're just cruising along. The rattle you can hear is actually the brakes. So if I lightly touch the brakes, that rattle goes away, and there's a little bit of play in those, so they rattle when we're taxiing. That's pretty much all you can hear. The prop is almost silent. So this is a thing of beauty. We're at the holding point here. There's some traffic inbound. You might be able to see it. And our prop is stationary. All systems are on, but that's the beauty of electric. We're just waiting with a static prop until we get our clearance to line up and take off, and then we'll apply power. All right, here we are at the lineup. Again, just waiting peacefully until this aircraft has left the runway, and then we'll apply full power. Clear for takeoff, Electro 2092. All right, here we go. So full power application and the takeoff configuration now. Full power is 56 kilowatts. And, well, it's actually 60 kilowatts, but we're only going to apply 56. No wind today. This is lovely. A little bit of back pressure, and up we go. So this is the loudest the plane will get. We're in the takeoff configuration at the moment. The highest power setting. Climbing out now. We're at 200 feet. 65, 70 knots, there we go. So now we're at 300 feet. We can take the flap away, bring back the power to about 40 kilowatts to minimize heat and maximize endurance. And then we'll keep climbing out at 70 knots, which we're doing now, a nice 70, 71. And there we go. So now we're in the climb power configuration. And this is a little bit quieter than the prior configuration, but this is still pretty loud. As things get in the Electro. We'll come back to the glide, well, the straight and level configuration shortly. But now we're at 500 feet, so let's turn out. All right, and now I've come to 1,000 feet, and so we no longer need to climb. I've come back right on the power setting now to a nice modest power setting to hold about 75, 80 knots. We're just going to cruise along here, 1,000 feet. And this is our cruise power setting. So for cruising along at sort of anywhere from 75 to 90 knots, this is the power setting that we have. All right, we're now out along the beautiful Perth coast. You might be able to see that out my window there. The beach is looking stunning. The water's looking beautiful. We're just cruising along at that same cruise power configuration at the moment. But what I'm going to show you is the glide, which is really fun. So at 1,500 feet at the moment, 78 knots, and we're just over Cottesloe Beach. So I'm going to cruise down to 500 feet above the water, and we're going to have a look at that. So this is where it gets exciting in the electric. When you take the power back to idle, which I'll do right now, we're now completely in the glide. So we're no longer applying power through the prop, or we're just gliding. The prop is still spinning. I can't turn it around here at the moment. It's too much faffing around with the camera. The prop is just windmilling, as it's called, and we're going to glide along at about 66 knots with the power setting completely off. So we're only down at 1,300 feet so far. This aircraft has a really excellent glide ratio, so we can glide really, really nicely. This is a nice thing to do just to get the feel of the plane and the glide, to be efficient on power. When we're getting some thermal energy coming up from houses and hot paddocks and things like that, we can get a fair bit of free energy in the glide configuration, or even with a modest power setting. So we're going to turn shortly here. Don't want to get too close to the Swanbourne barracks. They don't like us coming in low, so we'll turn around here and come down for a low glide past Cottesloe. So still at 1,000 feet now. There we go. Now we're in a little bit more of a descent. We're down at 800 feet. The beach is really, really beautiful today. It's always so stunning here in Perth. We're very, very lucky to enjoy this part of the world. Alright, now we're down to 700 feet, 70 knots, still cruising nicely. You can see that beautiful beachfront behind me out the window there. 70 knots, 600 feet, so I'll apply a bit of power now and level out so we don't blow through 500 feet. There we go, get back to that cruise configuration. We're only about 16 kilowatts today with my lightweight. Now we're back at 75 knots and just cruising along at about 550 feet. 0 rate of descent right now. And the beach is looking very beautiful. We'll come right past Cottesloe in this configuration and you'll see the famous landmark down there. A lot of people enjoying the water today, good for them. A little bit of seaweed on the beach. And it's that time of the year. Now we're ripping along now at almost 80 knots, so I can come back on the power a little more. We're still above 500 feet, and you can probably see the Cottesloe landmarks in the background behind me. Alright, now we're going to climb out and get back into, this is a more mellow climb configuration than before. So last time our climb configuration was, we had a power setting of 40 kilowatts to climb up out of the controlled airspace. But I'm just going to climb out at 30 kilowatts this time. So we've still got 70 knots on the climb speed, and our rate of ascent at the moment is 450, 500 feet per minute. And we'll check in again soon for the approach and give you what the approach all sounds like in the descent. We're getting close to setting up for our landing configuration. We're just about at Adventure World, where I'll start the descent. So I'll bring the power right back shortly. We're still at 18 kilowatts now. 88 knots, just cruising on in. Electro 2092 at Adventure World. Join downwind, one way 24 right, clear visual approach, Electro 2092. Cool, so that's our clearance to join the pack. So now I'll bring the power right back to about 7 or 8 kilowatts, which is going to give us a nice controlled descent, but I should still be able to stay pretty quick. Doing 90 knots at the moment. And we can go a bit faster, and there is some traffic behind me, so we'll see when they report at Adventure World. And if they're getting close, then maybe I'll speed up a little and stay ahead of them. We don't want to have to force them to go around. So we've got a 9 kilowatt power setting at present, doing 89 knots, and we're descending down through 1,200 feet. Oh, trying to descend, but we're getting some thermal activity. I don't know if you can see us bouncing around there, and that's giving us a lot of free energy. So interestingly, I actually just got a fair bit of free lift. I'm going to take the power back to nothing to try and get down. I'm now doing 100 knots and still at 1,100 feet. Some of the interesting things we have to manage in an aircraft with really good glide ratio is free lift everywhere when there's a bit of rising air. There we go. So now we're at circuit height, 90 knots. Get the power back on for some straight and level activity here. Alright, so we can take our first stage of flap, and we're just floating in with the power completely off at the moment. So we'll pretty much be in a glide configuration for this whole way in. If I need a bit of extra height, I'll add some power, but where we're at the moment, it looks like I should be able to glide in completely. It's pretty nice. Very little wind, so I might even be a little bit too high. You might see a bit of side slipping here if I need to get it down. Clear to land, Electro 2092. Alright, we got our landing clearance, second stage of flap, and we'll bring it in and put this baby on the ground. Alright, looking a little bit high and fast, so here we go with a little bit of a side slip. We'll lose some energy here. Probably can't see it from this perspective, but I am flying at about 15 degrees off my heading at the moment, which is adding a little bit of drag, which is helping me lose some energy so that I can get down and land. When we turn into a runway landing configuration with no headwind, it's actually hard to lose the energy in time to land neatly. But there we go. So we're down to 54 knots now, a couple of meters off the ground. Hold off, little balloon there. Hold off 40, there we go, 40 knots. Hold that stick back, lose more energy, and we'll expedite the runway because there is traffic behind me wanting to come in soon. All right, so that's the landing noise. Be interesting to see what that was like for you there. And there we are. We'll at our holding point, so I can make a radio clearance to go back to the hangar now. And that's it.